Hello everyone and welcome back to episode 2.
Episode 2, we're basically podcast veterans now.
Yeah, honestly, where is our reward, our plaque, or even a Netflix documentary would be quite nice.
We're still waiting for that call, but genuinely thank you. We hope you enjoyed the first episode. The feedback was amazing and we loved hearing how many of you said, thank goodness it's not just me.
Yeah, it was really nice to know that, actually we're neurodiverse, but we are normal and we are all in the same boat. So we've decided that this is basically our mission in life now. We're normalising the stuff nobody talks about properly and building that secure network of this is normal.
Exactly. And today, so we're going to be diving into something that so many people experience but often don't have the language for.
Yeah, and this is something I can be very honest with. I suffer with it massively. We've got Rejection Sensitivity Disorder, or RSD.
So we're going to be talking about what that actually means in real life, especially in a professional setting, and how it connects to demand avoidance and autonomy.
Yeah, and we promise it's not going to be a doom and gloom episode. We're keeping it real and we're just going to be keeping it hopeful and practical and putting those strategies out there.
So let's get started with the basics. Rejection sensitivity disorder is an intense emotional reaction to perceived rejection, criticism or failure.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to underline something there. This is perceived rejection.
Yeah, that's because nobody's actually rejected you, but your brain has written this 3-part drama series about it.
Yeah, with a soundtrack.
And costume changes.
And obviously you've already mentally resigned from your job.
All because somebody said, can we have a quick chat?
Yeah, but it's those 5 words, isn't it? It is the corporate horror film and there is nothing that fills me with panic more than getting that Teams blip up. Can you call me please? No context around it. People with my kind of thinking, we immediately go into that panic mode.
This isn't just about low self-esteem or low confidence. So it's often steady and predictable. RSD is explosive. It's disproportionate. It can be catastrophic.
Yeah, it's the intensity and the speed that catch people off guard, I think. And that distinction really adds to the psychological clarity.
So in real life, RSD can look like taking neutral feedback as a devastating criticism.
Yeah.
Feeling physically sick after a small mistake. Over apologising, I do that all the time.
Yeah.
Or avoiding a situation where you might feel like you fail, or you've got that people pleasing to an Olympic level. I think I've got a goal.
Yeah, I think you've got them all as well. Yeah, absolutely. And something I do all the time is replaying that conversation 47 times at 2:00 in the morning in my head, thinking, oh my God, why did I say that? Why am I like this? And I really do this one a lot.
Absolutely, I can feel myself printing.
Yeah, I can think of things. Yeah.
So RSD often shows up strongly in people with ADHD and autistic profiles, but anyone can experience rejection sensitivity.
Yeah.
And I think it's something we need to realise we do, and it's not our fault or something that we do wrong.
No, it's not. And here's the key. It's not about being dramatic, and you can ask anyone, I'm the most dramatic person you've ever met, but it's not about that. It's about your nervous system. It's going into threat mode. Your brain hears the word feedback, call me. It's translating it to you're unsafe and you're about to be socially exiled.
And it's not just emotional, it can be physical as well. It's that tight chest and your sweaty palms, your stomach drops, it's those racing thoughts. You might feel like you've got heat on your face, or you might just completely shut down.
Yeah, and even hearing you read those physical descriptions, I've had so many moments like it, and I think everyone listening will have had moments where it's bringing those thoughts back. And the speed of it is absolutely wild as well. It can go from 0 to I'm a failure and everyone secretly hates me in 12 seconds flat.
Which, evolutionary speaking, it used to be life-threatening. Now it just means that you forgot to attach your PDF. But your body doesn't know the difference, and you can still send you into a spin.
Yeah, and it's nice to know that, we've said this already, it is human behaviour. We are not perfect. How many times have we forgotten to attach something and said, here is the attachment? It is just part of life, I think, at this point.
Absolutely. So some common struggles then, when you're in this situation, you might avoid putting yourself forward for a promotion, or you might not speak up in meetings. I know I've done this countless times. I can literally feel the words in my head and in my mouth, but there's something stopping me from saying them out loud. There's procrastinating because starting something feels like you're potentially going to fail, or burning out, or having low morale because you're overworking to avoid that criticism, Or you might feel like you're not included in the team. Another one that I do all the time is perfectionism. So how that might show up in the workplace is you spend hours rewriting sentences that are already really clear. Or you might delay sending that report because you feel it's not perfect. Or you could just reject help from colleagues because no one else can do it properly. Or you could feel anxious at the thought of making even the smallest of mistakes.
Yeah, and I think I agree with everything you've just said there. You know, not putting yourself for promotion, not speaking up in meetings, because you think you're going to feel like you're saying the wrong thing. People are going to look at you as though you're an idiot. Not feeling included in the team. Are people talking about you? What have I done to make them dislike me? Do they dislike me? Yeah. Even though you've done nothing and you are part of that team. Or another one, you know, is becoming that yes person because you're so worried about the rejection or that you might disappoint somebody. You take everything on, not because, you know, you want to say no, but it's because, you know, you're then pushing against your own mental well-being. You've got too many spinning plates and they will fall because you can't take everything on. You've got to think about your own priorities.
Which leads us really nicely onto demand avoidance.
Yeah. Again, you know, let's really demystify this one.
So demand avoidance is often misunderstood. It's not laziness, it's not defiance, it's not that difficult personality.
And I think you don't think about it often in yourself as well, but you can see it in other people. If you think sometimes about your kids as well, if you have children, you know, you think they're just being difficult because they won't do something, but actually the demand avoidance comes in there as well. It's not because they're lazy, like you've just said. It's not because they're being rude. And it can come across a lot in the workplace. We meet people like that. But it's actually your nervous system's response to a perceived loss of autonomy. And we need to look more into that to recognise it in people.
When autonomy feels threatened, it can trigger the same flight or fight response to danger. So for some people, that control equals safety.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we're removing someone's choice, even unintentionally, the brain is reading that as I'm trapped, and a trapped nervous system resists.
When something feels like a demand, especially a high pressure one, your brain says that threat is detected, even if it's something you want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I say this every time, I can relate to this. You can desperately want to send that email and suddenly physically you're unable to do it. And I'm not going to lie, I am even like this at home. You know, I've got my task list. You know what you like when you come home from work. It's busy sorting homework, kids, food. I'm going to empty the dishwasher, but the moment someone says, oh, empty the dishwasher, will you? Not happening now. Not going to happen.
Absolutely. And the more urgent it becomes, the harder it feels. And if you also have RSD, then there's a double layer. You've got the fear of failing, the fear of disappointing, the fear of being judged. So your brain hits that emergency brake.
Yeah, and I think this is something we're definitely going to have to delve into a lot more, and we will do that on other episodes, because one of the hardest parts of RSD is what it does to your identity. You know, same with the demand avoidance, you start believing the reaction means that this is something about who you are.
You don't just think I've made a mistake, you think I am the mistake.
And I think that's really heavy to carry, especially in professional spaces where people expect you to be the best.
Exactly. So RSD, what does that mean to your day-to-day?
Kind of day-to-day, I would say it means, you know, you might interpret someone's tone where there is no tone. You might assume you're in trouble. You might quit emotionally before anyone even notices there's an issue. There might not even be an issue.
Absolutely. And importantly, you might design your entire life around avoiding rejection.
And I think a lot of us do that, especially without even realising we do it. No applying, no asking, no risking.
Which is heartbreaking because it keeps people small.
Yeah, and very, very exhausted.
So let's move on to solutions, because awareness is lovely, but tools are even better.
Absolutely. We love a toolkit, and as we said, we want to make this a neuro-inclusive world. We want the stories, we want the support, we want all your strategies to put together to share with like-minded people.
Absolutely. So first of all, let's separate fact from story.
Yeah.
So when you're feeling rejected, ask yourself what actually did happen. What story did my brain add? For me, when I'm doing this, I write it down, so I'm really clear on what's happened, and then I can start to dissect actually what is the reality and where has my brain actually added those extra bits on.
You know, because we have always emails come in, Teams, have managers say, oh, we need to revise this. and instantly your brain, I'm incompetent, I'm about to be fired. But realistically, it might just be a bit of spag. It might just be, let's add a slide. It's nothing to say that you are incompetent. It is just basic. They want something different that you haven't done yet, but you're not inside their brain. You don't know what they want.
Absolutely. And let's face it, your brains are dramatic.
Yeah.
We're allowed to cross-examine them. So to help you with that, start to identify your triggers. And what might be a trigger for you might not be a trigger for me. It's okay that everybody's triggers are different. So if someone is triggered, and in that moment, quite often logic won't land. When I'm kind of wanting to dissect things, I'm triggered at that point, I know there's no point me doing it. So when that trigger's happening, I might note it down, but then I know that I'm going to come back to it later and work through it in reality. And sometimes the trigger will hit hard, and in those moments, you might just want to curl up in a ball on the floor. Let that happen. Let the threat subside, and then when you're in a calm state, come back and start to analyse it, and then you can look at how can this be avoided in the future, and then really start to problem solve those mechanisms to help you.
Yeah, it all comes back to recognising the triggers, doesn't it? The more we identify them, the more we can work on them. However, it has to be noted that not every strong reaction is RSD. Sometimes it can be burnout, sometimes it's past experiences and trauma, sometimes it is just being human. So it's something we definitely need to focus on, because we can support ourselves with these issues. One that I really focus on is feedback. I struggle with feedback. I never think it's going to be any good. I think it's going to be negative. Then when I get the feedback, I can't believe it when it is good. So it's asking for that structure, isn't it, really?
Absolutely. So for example, you could say, can you let me know one thing that's working well and one thing that I need to tweak? Or you could, when someone comes to speak to you about feedback, you can say, look, can we schedule time to work through that feedback? So rather than those people dropping in randomly to do that, you're in that structured time and the place and you're ready to receive it. Or you can also look at them completing a self-assessment, so you can sit down and start to gather your own feedback and really identify what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses. Predictability reduces threat.
Yeah.
So if someone experiences demand avoidance, we're designed differently. So instead of,
working towards that, you must have this done by this deadline, think about having the options in there, think about when could I tackle this, what would be best to start with. And this is another great one for managers as well. If you know someone you work with has these issues, give them those options. Would you prefer to start with X or Y? How can we make this feel more manageable? Would you mind doing this? 3 o'clock would be a great time if you have the opportunity, because choice is powerful. Even small choice reduces threat response and collaboration instead of the command. That changes everything. It is so good to have those supportive managers and those supportive leaders. I've had experiences myself, and I've admitted to one of my managers, look, I really, really struggle with this needs to be done, this needs to be done, this needs to be done. And they get it. A lot of them be like, all right, well, how can we do? We've had the conversations, and I've had can you do me a favour? Do you reckon you can get this done by this time? And just changing that tone and the way it's said actually makes your body able to achieve it, and you don't put those mental walls up to be like, no, it can't be done. So it's something there. It helps relieve that pressure. It makes it a bit easier. And invisible pressure is something that needs to be looked at. Some people don't avoid the tasks, they avoid the pressure.
Absolutely. So removing that artificial urgency and looking at how you can break down those tasks more, making whatever the task is more low stake rather than that high urgency can really help. Look at supporting people to normalise doing drafts at work and doing pilots to really help with the practice in relation to that task.
Yeah, because our goal is not to fix people. That is not something we're looking at. Nobody is broken. It's what we want is to do is design environments where the nervous system doesn't have to be in fight or flight all day long. We don't want the burnout. We want the support there.
Autonomy respecting work looks like clear expectations, predictable communication, collaborative deadlines, permission to ask questions, but also a no shame-based motivation.
Yeah, I feel that shame works short term. It damages relationship, damages work ethic, your production, but safety, that works long term. that is something that's going to build those strong relationships, those foundations. You're going to get better work productivity, you're going to get stronger teams, you're going to get the better outcomes for businesses. So, you know, please look at this toolkit once we've got it uploaded. If you want to see a little bit more, give us your ideas, because that's what we want.
Absolutely. If you recognise yourself in this episode, you are not broken. You might just have a very sensitive threat detector.
Which I feel like I do. And also remember, sensitive systems are not weaknesses. They're often incredibly empathetic, creative, intuitive systems. They just need environments designed with intention.
So next time someone says, can we have a quick chat? Instead of planning your exile to a remote island, pause, breathe, and separate that fact from the story.
Yeah, and maybe don't update your CV immediately.
At least wait 24 hours.
Yeah, but we really hope that this episode has helped demystify RSD and demand avoidance.
And gave you the language and tools and maybe a little bit of self-compassion.
Yeah, if this resonated, please share it with someone who needs it, because I feel like there are so many people out there not getting the support, and that's what this podcast is all about.
And join us next time as we continue to unpack the stuff nobody explained to us growing up.
Yeah, and thank you for being here.
See you next episode. Please keep messaging in, as we love hearing your experiences and strategies.
Thank you and goodbye. Podcast disclaimer. The views, thoughts and opinions expressed in this podcast belong solely to the hosts. We are not experts, specialists or professionals, and nothing we discuss should be taken as advice. Our conversations are based around our own experiences, ideas and perspectives. They are intended for general discussion and entertainment only. If you need guidance, support or advice, whether professional, personal, medical, legal, financial or otherwise, please seek help from a qualified professional. By listening to this podcast, you understand and agree that the hosts are not responsible for any actions you choose to take based on what you hear.